He's not moving, and the sound in the arena dies at once. A stretcher rolling across fresh skate lines while players stare at the ice like it's something they suddenly don't understand. 8 minutes left, 8-2 on the board, and Steve Moore is face down motionless with teammates kneeling beside him. A rivalry boiled all year, and then in one grab from behind it tipped into something the league just couldn't shrug off. The hit would end a career, spark a criminal charge, and light up a $68 million courtroom fight. To understand why it happened, we have to go back 3 weeks. The fuse is lit. Prelude to the hit. February 16, 2004. Vancouver's captain Markus Näslund is reaching for a puck when Colorado's Steve Moore steps into him. Hard contact to the head. Näslund, the league's leading scorer, stays down. No arm goes up, and referee Dan Morelli calls it legal. The league reviews it and agrees. On the stat sheet, it's a clean hit, while in Vancouver, it lands like an insult. This would be the moment everything changed. Brian Burke calls Moore a marginal player going after a superstar with a head-hunting hit. Mark Crawford questions the officials' respect for elite players. In the room, the temperature rises. Brad May talks about a bounty. Todd Bertuzzi uses a slur in frustration. What nobody knew at the time was how all of it would sit and simmer. March 3rd brings the first rematch. Commissioner Gary Bettman is in the building. Everyone expects fireworks, and what they get is a tout careful 5-5 tie. No real retribution, just tension squeezed under the lid, and it doesn't release anything. 5 days later, on March the 8th, the lid blows off early. 6 minutes in, Matt Cook goes with Moore. They trade punches, 5 each to the box, and the crowd takes that as the settling. But it doesn't settle at all. 4 fights in the first period, and the scoreboard tilts hard. Colorado stacks goals, 5 by the first break, and the place begins to buzz with something ugly. Meanwhile, on a phone, Colin Campbell and Andy Van Helleman call the on-ice referees. The message becomes simple. This could escalate. They feel it from the headquarters. On the ice, it's 8-2 by midway through the third. Vancouver's chasing shadows, fans are restless, and Moore is still taking regular shifts. From the Canucks bench, there's a problem that nobody solves: how to answer the Näslund hit without crossing a line. They'd already fought him. The scoreboard makes it worse. Losing big strips away the polite choices. You could feel guys making personal decisions in real time. Unknown to them, across town in living rooms and bars, people are saying the part out loud. Some version of it's coming. With 8 minutes left and the game out of reach, everything tightens to one decision. The hit. Action, aftermath, and fallout. Bertuzzi hops over the boards and finds Moore. He shadows him through a change, a couple of choppy strides behind. He's talking, tapping, and asking to go, but Moore won't oblige. He's already fought that night and keeps on skating, heading forward with the puck leaving his stick and then returning like none of it's happening around him. The energy in the building tilts. Every time that Moore refuses, the noise grows sharper. You can hear it in the way the fans react to routine touches. Boos that sound like a dare. But here's where it gets hard to watch. Bertuzzi grabs Moore's jersey from behind with his left hand and throws a right to the side of Moore's jaw. Moore's body folds forward, and in the next beat, gravity and mass take over. Bertuzzi lands on top of him, Sean Pronger and Andrei Nicolishin pile in, and Moore's face hits the ice. And that's the moment that everything changes from hockey into something completely else. Immediate silence. The pile clears and Moore is motionless. 10 minutes pass that feel like an hour. Trainers crowd around, Avalanche players go from furious to terrified, and Canucks players avoid eye contact. The arena, which wanted revenge only a moment ago, now suddenly wants time to turn back. And meanwhile, a line brawl that had already flared almost as reflex before everyone realized the damage. At stake is a life and a career that sits on the ice, and 2 franchises that feel the weight of just what happened. The stretcher comes and Moore is wheeled off. His neck is stabilized, his eyes are closed, and the rest of the game doesn't matter, but they still play it out. 9-2 Colorado. Avalanche GM Pierre Lacroix reportedly asks the officials to blow it dead. They don't, and everyone just tries to get to the horn without making it worse. The medical reality will land much later. 3 fractured vertebrae in the neck, a grade 3 concussion, ligament damage, nerve stretching in the brachial plexus, and facial cuts, amnesia, and a list that reads clinical but means one clear thing. Moore's professional hockey career is now over. 2 days later, Bertuzzi faces the cameras in Vancouver. He's crying and apologizing to Moore and his family, to Burke, to the ownership, the fans, and everyone watching at home. He says he doesn't play the game that way. The city splits in two. Some see remorse, while others see damage that can't be undone. Discipline comes fast, a match penalty that night, and then an indefinite suspension while the league reviews it. March 11th, Gary Bettman rules Bertuzzi out for the rest of Vancouver's season. 13 regular games, 7 playoff games, and the Canucks take a $250,000 fine. The message is that consequence has to be bigger than the scoreboard. Then the lockout comes. 2004 and 5 disappears. Many players head overseas, but the IIHF extends the suspension to cover their leagues, and Bertuzzi takes a seat. He does skate in a December charity game in Vancouver organized by Brad May, and the building gives him a standing ovation. It becomes complicated, involving fans wrestling with identity, loyalty, and guilt all in the same sound. While the league and the union fight over a new CBA, Bettman schedules a reinstatement hearing. August of 2005, and Bertuzzi is back. Bettman cites remorse and the price already paid. 20 missed games, over $500,000 in forfeited salary, and roughly $350,000 in lost endorsements, along with months of uncertainty for his family. The suspension stands as one of the longest at the time, and the league draws a line in its record book. But the rink wasn't the only courtroom that mattered. Criminal charges arrive in British Columbia, assault causing bodily harm. A plea deal comes months later with conditional discharge, 80 hours of community service, a year of probation, and a restriction against playing in any game that involves Moore. No criminal record if completed. Moore's side is upset at how quickly the court date's set, and his lawyer says they had only 1 day's notice. Meanwhile, the civil arena warms up. A Colorado suit gets tossed to Canada, an Ontario suit seeks millions, loss of income, aggravated and punitive damages, and later, Moore's parents add a claim for nervous shock. Negotiations will leak, 7 figures floated, and an offer in the hundreds of thousands. Both sides feel insulted by the other's number, and the public only sees the gap. On the ice, the story lingers on. Every road rink boos Bertuzzi, and in Vancouver, friends like Näslund say publicly that he was standing up for his captain and it just went too far. In the room, guys play on, but the incident shadows every game between these teams for years. What began as a hit for hit became a question that none of them were ever trained to answer. How much payback is ever enough, and who pays when it's not? Courtrooms, careers, and reputations. The rink gives way to courtrooms. British Columbia handles the criminal side first, assault causing bodily harm. Bertuzzi pleads guilty, gets a conditional discharge, 80 hours of community service, 1 year probation, and a rule that he can't play in any game that Moore's involved in. No criminal record if it's completed. Moore's camp says the notice was too short, they just couldn't get him to the hearing. Civil suits follow a winding path. A Colorado filing gets tossed back to Canada. In Ontario, Moore sues Bertuzzi, the Canucks, and the ownership for lost income and damages, and later his parents add a nervous shock claim. Settlement talks leak, a 7-figure feeler is rejected, and a joint offer in the hundreds of thousands is called insulting, and both sides dig in. Discovery turns personal. Bertuzzi's side points to coach Mark Crawford, alleging pay-the-price messaging. Crawford fires back that Bertuzzi disobeyed orders. The team denies both versions. Years will pass while doctors track more symptoms. He keeps on training and hoping for clearance that never comes. A trial date finally lands in 2014. Moore amends the suit to $68 million, arguing the lost career window is now clear. Weeks before testimony, everything stops. August 19th of 2014, they settle out of court. There are no numbers or catharsis, just silence where a verdict would have been. Careers move in different directions. Bertuzzi returns after the lockout, posting 71 points, and then gets traded to Florida the next summer. On the road, boos will follow him everywhere. Näslund voices sympathy, saying that he knows Bertuzzi was just standing up for him, but it went too far. Moore never gets medical clearance, and the comeback workouts end, and so does his career. Legacy and meaning. What changed and what didn't? The league's culture faces a mirror: star protection, bench responsibility, and the cost of policing the game. Departments of player safety grow teeth. Cameras and commentary sharpen consequences. Yet the image that endures is simple: stretcher, silence, and a number that turned grief into paperwork. 68 million. One play became a fault line between justice and revenge, toughness and recklessness, loyalty and liability, and the NHL still measures itself against it. If you want to see how today's suspensions try to prevent nights like this, watch our breakdown of modern discipline and gray area hits next. Be sure to subscribe for more untold hockey stories, the rivalries that boiled over, and the decisions that still echo through the league today.